title is, digital drama. By the time it gets to pay at night, sometimes it can be digital trauma, really. Digital trauma because we got great schools. We're both proud schools to watch principals. But our kids in social media sometimes just not a good connection. And when they're in the privacy of their home, they're not seeing the reaction to that TikTok post or that Snapchat post. We're not seeing that reaction to the other side. And as good as we have great kids in that kind of environment, sometimes the impulsivity, they're not thinking or reflecting on what the other screen is going to show. Sometimes we see some bad stuff. And that's why as parents, I'm glad you're here. The more you know about how the drama can become trauma pretty quickly, I think the better off the kids are going to be as well. There's a lot of great uses for social media, obviously, but there's a lot of inappropriate uses as well. And TikTok, right? That's just been out, at least for my kids, the last year or so. And I mean, and these kids believe TikTok. We started the year with TikTok telling kids to take the stuff off the soap dispensers in the cafeterias, right? All over the country, not just here. At some of the schools locally, they were taking toilets and sinks off the walls, all because TikTok type of messaging. So our kids are very influenced by the messaging behind some of these social media sites. And so as parents, I think you want to kind of connect and make sure that you know what sites your kids are on. Because again, it really influences them. And in middle school, I think you'll see your kids, move away from the family circle network, and their friends become very, very important to them. And for some of these kids, their friends who kind of rule their world, right? And some of these friends bring some social media presence as well. So I think that's why we're here tonight, to learn as much as we can. And kind of whatever you learn tonight, find a couple of parents at a coffee pleasure Starbucks and pass the word. I know it's going to be videotaped, and try to encourage as many of your friends as you can to at least catch the videotape production as well, so we get this messaging out. Because I know the high school guys have done a great job in terms of putting this program together. So thank you very much for being here.
Yeah, I'm Pat Grove, principal at JP. Like Dave said, we unfortunately deal with this more often than not. And although I haven't been in Fairport as long as Dave, it's my 21st year as administrator. I mean, I remember when MySpace came out, and I'm like, oh, what is this? And dealing with that. So this is, obviously so much in depth with the kids and going from there. You guys are by far our greatest resource to help with the kids and going from there. I plead very ignorant to our kids about what I know about social media. I call it TikTok and InstaFace and things like that too. No one just okay, listen, just so they'll, I don't want to say be more free to talk about it and go from there too, but every day, literally every day, there's something going on. Sometimes it's not terrible like Dave's, but that's where it gets. And it really impacts the kids day to day. We laugh about trying to keep phones out of their hands during the school day as much as possible, as we said, but I see them in sweatpants pockets and see them there. And we don't make a big deal about it. Like if they're not disrupting classroom, to try to use it and go from there. And we know it's such a good bridge between home, like the quick text, how are you doing? Checking in for all good reasons. So the kids are so used to having them and getting them. And what we're trying to do with this, and Nate and Jen have done a great job too, about talking about how to make it, I don't want to say sustainable, but beneficial to the kids. When Brett talks to us about how we're managing it with kids, we try to think ways, how do we at school teach the kids how to use technology properly? I mean, there's so much at their disposal. They know more than we do. They do know how to use it quicker than we do, whether it's chats on the computers and emails and all the different social media apps. It's just us trying to find a way to work with you guys as families to manage it, make sure they're doing it in a safe, secure way, and helping them learn as they grow up about the responsibilities of it. Good. Okay. So thanks for coming though, guys. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thanks. Okay.
Hi, thank you guys for coming. My name is Jenna Platt. I am the instructional technology coach for the middle schools, 6-8, as you know. Nate Bruder here is the instructional technology coach for the high schools, and he had run this night with the high school teachers or parents, and we just thought it would be great for you guys to hear as well. And we got a lot of feedback asking similar questions. And I leaned on Nate because he is a father of children in many age ranges that kind of go in the levels that we're looking at. So here is Nate to kind of kick off the night and lead us into it.
Thanks. I was just thinking about what Pat was saying about the kids need their phones to contact home. So basically, I mean, I'm a school teacher, so I'll have students all the time. They're kind of yeah, I'm just texting my mom. Everyone, it's texting. I want you to know how much they care about you. I'm Nate and I am certified technology coach for grades 11 to 12. I taught earth science and bio for 18 years and then became a tech coach. As you know, last year the technology needs just got bonkers. And we really needed a lot of support for teachers. I'd say about 2/3 of our job is just like emotional support. And the other third is actually the technology. So we listen a lot and we help people and we get them through the points. Just kind of a few things, just kind of like administrative type things. I've noticed that usually people talk about exits at the beginning of these meetings. So there's exits. Am I doing this right?
Absolutely.
You do this at
I've done it.
kids' concerts. So
Everyone knows where the exits are at the auditorium, so it's good.
there. And then these ones too. These are actually exits I've used it before. They're kind of funny. Just so you know, too, this will be recorded, just kind of upfront. The why. Oh, I also want to do some thank yous. I'm really glad that both Dave and Kat could be here. I want to thank Tom Devitt. Keep it with that, it's fine.
Oh, yeah.
Nice guy. Tom's our director of technology. He's been really supportive of this. Something I'm really grateful for Tom is it's not just about hardware and software for Tom. It's really about the kids and their experience and how the technology interacts with the kids. So I'm really appreciative of that. So just a little bit about the why. I think something that's really hard for us as parents during this time is our kids are going through an experience that we did not experience. And it's kind of funny because a lot of times when I start to like bring up digital technology and social media and stuff like that, usually like the first reaction from a lot of parents is they're kind of like, oh, yeah, Jay, I need to do that. So we're learning as we're going with the kids. And that's a lot. As much as that might seem like a weakness, I also kind of want to offer that there's also strength to that. Here's why. I feel like in many ways, if we grew up without like social media, we grew up without having a phone in our pocket. And I think in many ways, we know that the importance of like person-to-person communication. And we have the ability to kind of really share that with kids from a very powerful perspective. So even though you might feel like kind of like, man, I don't understand this stuff, realize too that you're also coming from a position and an experience strength too, that I think is invaluable to the kids. And I also think it's a really important reminder of how we need each other. Our kids are teaching us in many ways and strengthening us, but we're also helping them too. So during this, like a little bit about the what, like we're going to talk about like some tips and stuff like that, but also the how. You are going to be talking with each other. It's kind of like a little bit like a parent like support group. And this is a little bit awkward in this room because like the seats are kind of fixed. But you can like figure it out. Expect to be maybe like a little bit vulnerable. And the only reason I kind of bring that up is it's kind of hard. We're doing our best as parents. They don't come with a manual. I have like 5 kids. I kind of thought by like number 5, I'm kind of like, well, obviously I figured this out. I haven't. Okay. I don't know all the answers. And there's some vulnerability with that. And I think if you allow yourself to be a little bit vulnerable, there's like some really powerful learning that happens in those moments. It's very like Brene Brown, wait, did I say her name right? Is it Renee or Brene? Is it Renee?
Renee.
Yeah, okay. Then those moments of vulnerability, you really grow a lot. And I also think in some ways it's good for our kids to see those moments too, that we're also kind of trying to figure it out. So expect that. Okay. So let's see. Here they are. This is the crew. Okay. And it's okay. Like I'm kind of used to this. So like if you're kind of like, whoa, like you're welcome to do that audibly. Because a lot of times you're like, whoa, there's like 5 of them. It's a lot. Sometimes coming here is kind of relaxing. Because like right now, like what's going on at home right now? Come on.
Chaos. Chaos.
It's chaos. Why? Because it is. It's just chaos. They've had dinner, they're tired, they gotta do their chores, there's a project that's due tomorrow that they didn't tell you about. You want them to go to bed, but it seems like they've never done this before. It's awful. It's awful. So thank you for doing this. This is relaxing for me. So here's the crew. This is my son, Kalen. He just graduated. He's in college now. if it's okay to be kind of proud dad for a moment, he's actually going to go to Germany very soon for our church for 2 years. Really cool, really excited about that. This is Landon, he's a junior here. Okay, another proud moment, he was in the recent Unplugged, it was really cool. Like kind of funny story, sorry, I'll stop telling stories. But he, so they did for Brotherhood Sisterhood, they had like this thing called Unplugged here, and the kids like play and do all sorts of things. He, like right before him was this like band, and they like thrashed, like it was loud and crazy. And he was gonna go out, I knew this, like he was gonna go out and sing by himself on acoustic guitar a Winnie the Pooh song. Yeah, I'm like, how is he gonna do this? But it was amazing. Like he went out there and everyone was kind of like, they really got into it. It was really, like really touching. It was really cool. He's a really cool kid. Then this is Chloe. She's under Atlanta, she's a 9th grader. She really wants Snapchat. Just that. This is Tobin, he's in 6th grade at JP. And then this is Hayden, he's in 4th grade. He's kind of like working the camera right now. So that's my crew, and they've taught me a lot. I'm a parent, I'm a teacher here, I'm an alum from Fairport. This is a very special place. I feel very passionate about like building a good experience for our kids because I had a good experience here. So you have some stuff. This is the worksheet. You guys have like a handout. This is stapled to it. Got that? And then there's also this thing here. Okay. There's this thing called a family media agreement. And it's kind of cool because when I looked at it, I'm like,
When I walked in, I thought, no.
this is probably stuff I should be talking about with my kid and our kids. And you know, some of the stuff on there, I'm like, oh, I don't know if I'm gonna use that or not, but maybe it's like a good starting point for me. What I'm trying to do is just kind of give you some resources, like kind of like level it right where it's not too much, but just like. All right. Last thing here, and then you gotta start doing more stuff. The first time I did this, I got this question. When parents were like, I'm just like did a survey, I'm like, what do you want me to do with this thing? And there was this question: how do I build trust with my child? This is kind of like the gentle coaching role that I have. And I'm going to kind of do it with you right now. Realizing that, you know, parenting is a very personal thing. Here's 2 things that have really helped me. One is love. And that sounds, it sounds pretty obvious. But I noticed something that once they become like when they're little and cute, they're really easy to love. Then they become like bigger or surly and stuff like that. And it's a little bit harder to love them. But when you can pause and stop, you do. And I think something was so miraculous about my 5 children when they were born is I had never met them before. But I instantly loved them. Like I would take a bullet for them. It's kind of crazy. I'm like, why do I feel like this? It's amazing. And I hope in those moments when things are hard, tired, and things are crazy and you don't have the answers, and it's hard when you don't have the answers as a parent. I hope you remember that you love, and I think you do that. That's the foundation. Things will be better. Second thing, I believe now we're kind of taking on a different role. So like my kids, when they were little, they literally, especially around my wife and me too, they would just kind of follow us around like little ducklings. Remember that stage? It was really cute. They don't do that anymore. It's more like they're throwing themselves in our way and trying to trip us up. So it's hard when they're at this stage of life. And in some ways, they don't follow us as much, but we kind of take on this role of being much more of a coach in their life, where instead of like walking ahead of them, we're walking side by side with them. And we're kind of putting our arms around them and saying, you know what? I don't really quite have all the answers, but we're going to work on it together. We kind of guide them through that, show them the way together. And I think if we do those 2 things, the loving and the coaching, this happens. This trust happens. Kids feel it and they know it. They can't always articulate it, but they know it. They intuitively feel it. All right. So here we go. Now you get to do stuff. I'm talking. Here's what I'd like you to do. Kind of want you to think a little bit about where you're at right now. Does your child sometimes seem upset after reading texts? What causes the drama? Do you experience drama all the time? What do you do if they come to you for support? What's the biggest challenge when it comes to digital trauma? What I'd like you to do right now is turn to a partner, someone around you, and answer those questions. Like, kind of go in order for you. Okay? And you can move around if you'd like. You can do more than 2 people.
Are you?
Yeah.
Yeah, the three of us? Yeah. So, like, I'm just saying, like, Aaron,
Carl.
okay.
Carl.
I will just eat up. Okay, yes, I'm gonna have my phone.
Feel free to.
First contact. So we're, that glide path is coming, but. Because of your friend or because. Yeah. All 12. That's like, hold on. So, how's it going? So we need to. Yeah.
Yep.
I think it's like
Yeah. I'm a bad.
Pretending like you're now.
It's.
not crazy.
I'm here.
We spend a like time.
I would only.
Putting something.
Mother and I are together, right?
Like heated argument for this week. That's like,
Gave her a phone,
like outreach, like, so we have their, you know,
report, I think it was called.
have their passion.
Okay.
And I don't know if it's still, I have an
Put
answer.
off.
Well, we're.
So there were some issues.
See, like, you're like saying
People, but I was, I could read my daughter's text if she received this.
that's, I hate to think.
Yeah.
You already know.
Number wasn't already in her contacts. It was in her phone block.
Okay.
And
We did,
and I could set screen time. I could break the phone.
yeah. It's like.
Looking for it. I'm not seeing it. Formerly called Motherboard.
Yeah.
No. But Verizon has it built into their whole thing. You gotta pay a little bit, but they have some sites. ET might have it as well. Google has it if they have a Gmail account. You can set them up in the family
So, yes.
and then you can put some controls.
And so.
Oh, yeah, okay.
First one you did.
Yeah.
The first time we had like things that they asked me. Yeah. That's the right.
Yep, Apple has their own controls too. Yep. So you got iPad, you got Verizon, you got Android.
Yeah.
For what? I don't know, yeah. Yeah. Well, probably last month, so like.
Hey. 12 question I get was like a lot, and I don't know that I have like an answer, but the site thing is.
Access everything. Oh. Just like a dashboard you can see.
All right, I can see it, but it was also a good introduction. Cause I gave her.
But like with this question too, kind of like how much.
Sure,
they're
we
gonna kind of like
didn't
sort
have
of know,
these.
but not-
Right.
Because you want to be.
I didn't want her to
Learn
learn how to fix it while she was trying to. Well, I gave her an old phone, so she was familiar with touch.
So like how we've done
I
it, it's
just
just like
games on it for what.
every once in a while.
I think that's 5 or 6. I mean, that one.
Yeah, Mark is the one you talked about. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's that one.
Same one?
It's different, but
Oh, okay.
they do the same thing. Yep, they do the.
I just say like, oh yeah, like, oh, and I also saw someone from Barcelona who was in the hallway, maybe, yeah, and making like all the, yeah, so. Thank you. One of my So.
Yeah.
Well, I told her, I was straight before, and I also told her that the phone's mine. She
Yeah.
use it, but the phone's mine. I said that people would take my phone.
Yeah.
So I can take your phone at any time and I can just, I can read you.
Yeah.
That's part of the deal. That's part of the deal.
I
Early on there, I had conversations with, so now, I don't use my phone. But
like I
it's texting, WhatsApp is a texting.
But if it's like in the car, like driving somewhere, starting making the car.
That allows you to see.
Then I can get
WhatsApp doesn't, I don't have any control. The reason why I started with WhatsApp.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
WhatsApp,
Like I know there's.
phone works through Wi-Fi.
Oh, yeah.
So the phone was a dead phone, it wasn't activated, but I could still chat with her. So
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just for me.
Yeah, I don't know what I did about.
Different app, there's another thing.
So like.
That's the different thing. Regardless of the social media apps, it's the social construct that's changing their demand for wanting to be with each other online and rate everybody and be instant gratification for every image and every video. And so it's changing their developmental minds to need to have lots of images, lots of data every minute, and every second. So you can't stop it. It's evolution. And, you know, multitasking is going to be very different for these generations than it was for us. Their attention span and ability to write an essay that's 18 to 30 pages long is very different. You know, their midterm memory retention is another thing they're looking at, is that when they watch a TikTok for every 30 seconds, it might only spend 10 seconds on it or 2 seconds on a video or an image. They're not training their midterm memory retention. So things are just instance and instance. And then, so you say something to them and 2 minutes later, they forgot, they didn't hear you say, or they remember, because they're doing thousands of images a day, never going beyond a thought more than 10 seconds on each image. An actual average time on an image or a video is in seconds. It's very low. So it's interesting when you put that on a developmental mind, if that brain is growing around that, you know, what's it going to become? It's just evolution.
Everything else.
Well, they're changing movies.
Don't watch it. I get it.
Yeah,
It's hard.
you'll notice that the movies are turned into like scene. It's not development. It's not like rambling dialogue, really.
Explain why I will say, okay, I need you to set the table.
Said and just like went out into the ether.
Whatever.
It's like.
He'll get the first one.
It's not necessarily his fault, and he's not
And I
his own problem.
say it's ADHD, but I think it's because of this. You know, have all this data.
Yeah, it's like an instant gratification generation. It's like they actually have articles about how many thousands of images they see a day or data points a day that they see.
Documentary.
Like-
How accurate it is.
Yeah.
Talks about how. Talk about, talk to your family, but they're actually deciding. Like if I'm on Facebook and scrolling, they're done.
Yeah, it's kind of, so we're gonna.
It's exposed to the top.
Oh,
I have to, so I have to hit back again.
You only make money if you stay on the app or the thing. So everything is pulling us in.
It talks about how it's designed. I don't, like I said, I don't know how. tinfoil hat it is or.
It's like his own hat.
That's,
Yeah.
the information is on how they use it, so they market and sell every click and everything they look at, and you'd be talking about something, and then your Amazon, you'd be like, what the heck? Oh,
Oh, yeah. I know. It was the blind sales.
Okay.
that's,
So, but I have, it's been very little, but I just know. Oh, yeah.
and
I can imagine. I would.
now they're different too, though, is because they do crowdsource behavior, so they know they can't bully, they can't say the N words, and things that we might have gotten away with back in the day, where you could say F you, F this. Well, you can't say that online, because there's a trail and you're accountable, so there's a level of.
Come together here.
Behave. They do behave
Yeah,
better.
I
We
wouldn't have thought.
watched it.
Police.
They do.
So.
Telling
if
each
you don't
other.
mind, let's kind of share out a little bit here. And let's get down to the second question there. Like, what are your kids coming to? Or what do you do to come to? Yeah, oh, yeah. So what are some things that you're doing for your kids to provide support? And just so you know, I call them people. You better just like doing that. They're gonna call you. You can do it with students. Okay, we're playing. Yes, thank you.
I was just saying, like, when my daughter gets into just the group text drama, I have to remind her to put the phone down and walk. Like that, it's escalating in too many different directions. People aren't communicating the right way, just to walk away. And that usually works. She walks away and then the next day everything's fine. But you just have to separate yourself.
That's huge. Took away one of the tips I was gonna give later. But it's perfect. Yeah.
You forced her to say something. You forced her to say something.
Thank you. That's why Jen's here. I mean, my place. This is the first time she's done it. So, I was gonna, so it's kind of interesting, kind of like take a moment with that a little bit, if you don't mind, like, why do you think it's hard? You said your daughter, right? Why is it hard for your daughter to think?
Because it's drama, it's engaging, it's with friends. You know, sometimes she wants to help fix it, sometimes. It's so hard. And I think that's the wrong way to put it, but like, it's just.
Yeah, well, it's very engaging.
Yeah.
Like, I remember one time I had a student, she's like, actually, I really like reality TV. It makes me feel better about myself, you know? Or you just like, it's like, at least I'm not that crazy. But then when we did this last time, we actually had 2 students on a panel, and they were really upset about it. They're kind of like, we were talking about digital drama, it's like the whole theme. And they're kind of, well, actually, we have something to say. We both really like it. I mean, they came right out, they're like, we kind of enjoy the circus. I don't know if she's experienced this too, or the other kids experience, but I've heard this kind of come out sometimes too, is kids, I read about this in a book, but I also have heard it from other people too, like kids at this age are hyper vigilant. You know, they're constantly kind of assessing their social standing with their friends. So like sometimes those group texts can be really rough because they kind of feel like they need to be there to defend themselves. And defending themselves, I don't know, like when you're at that stage of life, you know, what does that look like? And it's hard to like, what do you do to like kind of stand up for yourself? But it usually doesn't end all well. At least it did for me in my steps that didn't happen. So thank you. And who else is gonna share? What do you got?
I don't know. We struggle with the immediacy of everything, like trying to tell her that, you know, if you get a text and you don't know what to say right away, you can pretend you didn't just get it. Your phone could have been like under my lock and key, and you didn't even get that text yet. So that you kind of step away, you don't have to answer it immediately. But they feel, you know, it's like they have to have lots of things and they got to answer it. And we do the same, I mean, I do the same thing as an adult, but you know, trying to be aware of it and model that for her, and that there's times that I can put it down, or if I do get a text and I get frustrated by that text, I put it down instead of answering it right away. But yeah, they're just so driven by that immediacy to respond right away. So again, so that they're not like left out, so that someone else doesn't get a chance to answer first. Or
I keep thinking too, like, so like, I finally started to understand Charles Dickens later in life, I didn't very well in ninth grade when I read Great Expectations. It's coming, by the way, all right? And Charles Dickens talked so much of his themes in his writing was how fast the world is now. That was like back in the 1800s. And like you think now about digital technology moves so fast. And it literally, I feel like it moves faster than we can process it. And we kind of create this monster because it's like some monster that we can't talk about. It's hard. Other thoughts? Maybe one or two more. Oh. Yeah.
So to answer the second one,
Yeah.
I think I'm for support. I will listen, I empathize, and then I just give a different perspective, context. All they see is their side of the fight. Let's try to give a perspective of,
Yeah. So this is really cool. This curriculum here that we're using comes from Common Sense Media. And one of the elements they do throughout a lot of like the lessons that they have for students is this idea of taking different perspectives. They're kind of like, well, so-and-so is part of this. What do you think their perspective is? There's this adult involved, like proving their perspective, and it's so helpful to kind of like help kids come to practice. That's a wonderful thing. How was it there?
I'll share based on the conversation I had, Nate.
Okay, we got
Well, the last one that says, what's the biggest challenge when it comes to digital drama? One piece that kind of shocked me in having a conversation with parents was when their child doesn't have the devices and is not included in the digital drama and feeling the drama of that. And I was just curious if anyone else out there hasn't given their child or their child does not have a device and feels similar to that drama of like being left out. That I just hadn't thought about it on like that other perspective of like the lack of that.
parents. Yes. Yes. Oh yeah. How old are your?
So my daughter's in 6th grade and does not have a device. My son is in 8th grade, he does.
Yeah.
But it's talk and text only. And that has been fine, but now we're getting a lot of pleas for Snapchat, so, which that's not gonna happen, but he was perfectly fine with talk and text. It served his purposes just fine. But yes, the 6th grader is quite upset that she doesn't have one, and stress all the time about being able to communicate with people and being able to talk, and she happens to be a very articulate child who can pretty much walk in a room of strangers and talk to anybody. So that's a really wonderful strength that she has. But she says, I'm sitting on the bus on the way home between two friends that both have devices and they're texting each other. And she said, how am I supposed to connect with people when everybody's using their phone? And we don't really have an answer for that.
Yeah. It's interesting because my daughter, every time she's kind of getting a little bit further into social media world or the digital world, it's always been a question of like, I want to connect better with my friends. And it's really hard as a parent to kind of be like, what do you need that? You know, I'm like the typical dad. I'm like, who needs friends? I find down the basement by myself. You know? Does anyone kind of have maybe an answer for that? Like, how do you handle that? Can you say the question one more time? The question of like.
Well, it was the question she posed to us. She said, how am I, and she wants a phone.
Sorry,
She wants a phone more than anything.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
It is a constant argument. And when we tell her how much we would like her to be able to still connect with people in person and not on a device, she says, how am I supposed to connect with people when there's nobody to connect with because they are all.
Talk to my daughters, they don't have phones either. Yeah. Which school is she at? No, I hear that the same from my twins in 6th grade. They feel like they're being very abused right now.
Left out,
Yeah.
which is hard.
But and it's, I'm looking at it in a new way because one of them especially kind of needs the help socially. The other one really doesn't. So that's been interesting for me to think about a little bit more. So we're leaning more towards giving them to them sooner rather than later. But to answer her question, I don't know.
Yeah, and I don't know that there's like an answer. Does anyone else have maybe other thoughts on that?
I would just like to say I appreciate the schools policy that kids can't have them. They're not supposed to have them out during the day, but that at least helps with that.
Yes, because everyone's kind of like same playing field.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what, I'll just say that we do struggle with I do too, like, especially like the kids that don't have phones, like every once in a blue moon, there's a phone day. You know, and I take that to heart with, because everybody, I know everyone does it. Cause we get parents talking to us like, you know, should I let my kid have a phone? I'm like, whoa, you know, you guys are dealing with it. Like school, we try to do it, but like, that's a good, like, family tough decision. I don't say, so we don't have to be the bad guy either, but it's tough on those days too. We try to figure out, like, really try to limit it on that. Even lately, yeah, that's pretty hardcore about nothing. Right? You know, that's their number one, like, hey, if we do this, can we get a phone day? If we do this, we get a phone day. But I really think most of our kids just that, like, that don't. So that's almost like, they'll like literally like, you know, everyone's head's buried on the bus.
We walk into the high school too. I'm always shocked when I walk into high school and I walk by classrooms like a study hall and every kid sitting on their phone.
So I don't know if there's a good solid answer. I know with my daughter who's come up with this, and I don't, again, I'm not professing to have the answer. We've always tried to like say, okay, if this is your goal to like connect with other friends, what are some other ways to do that? And it is hard with other kids on there. We'll go to like great lengths. We'll be kind of like, hey, we'd be willing to have kids over and we'll buy pizza, you know, like, but we definitely try to like figure out other ways to like help them to navigate that terrain of making friendships.
One of the parents mentioned the Google Chats, you know, we're emailing Tom at least once a week. Disconnect, you know, the Google Chat feature for these students until further notice, because you get 20, 30, 40 kids on a Google Chat. And it's just, when we get access to what they're saying, it's not productive. So, you know, your child certainly has that capability of connecting with friends on their laptop. You know, maybe not TikTok and stuff, but at least with the Google platform. So that's one way that they can connect. And okay, so we don't have phones anymore, but they're got the laptops in the cafeteria still. So they're finding their way.
Yeah.
You know, Tom will,
Yeah.
he's always helping us out because there are some kids and this came up a couple of years ago when the elementary principals, it just all of a sudden happened.
Yeah.
I remember Rich Green saying, I didn't even know it was happening. These fourth graders now have Google Chat. This was probably 3-4 years ago. And he said this was out of control. I mean, just out of control. And it's really not gotten a lot less out of control. Since then.
I was invited to a group chat by like some kids.
Yeah.
Is this what this has come to? Yeah. I was gonna start doing dad jokes. All right, let's keep moving here. So, I have a video here, kind of like to share with you guys. And, you know, what I like about like a lot of this curriculum that we have, we're drawn from the Common Sense Media. Have you been on Common Sense Media? It's like awesome. Like it's really good for like movies in particular. Like when I like say no, like legit, should I show my kids Goonies in the 1980s? And the answer ended up being no.
Really?
Okay.
My kids love that show.
There's some parts to it though, like that I was kind of like, oh, wait, I don't remember that. Yeah, I haven't shown it. Maybe later. Okay, but if you're a little older. So anyway, I like all these videos because what they do in many ways is they do show like a really balanced, like there's good and bad with a lot of this. We want our kids to be able to connect, but we want them to be able to connect in a healthy way. So they do a good job of doing it in a lot of this.
Yeah, hit the remote and turn the sound on, I guess, with the TVs.
Yeah. I turned them all back up. Like I caused the.
No,
have something said that maybe you won't like. On social media, everything socialized all the time, digital drama is a thing. There are ways to avoid digital drama, but I think it's mainly inevitable. You need to like get ready to like have something be said that maybe you won't like. On social media, everything socialized gets a bit more intense. It just causes so much unnecessary drama, I would say. Sometimes I need to take a break from it, 'cause sometimes it's too much for me. And if there's like drama going on, that is a sign. And even though there are steps that we can take to reduce it, it's not gonna end.
You can say anything over text, which you would never actually say in real life. It's so much easier to fight with your friend over the phone than it is to fight with your friend in person. That's a new thing.
People can just hide behind, certain accounts and certain places on social media and just say whatever they want to say. We kind of have this disconnect that I think sometimes social media can cause, where it develops like almost a tolerance for lack of empathy.
It's really important to think about how other people are going to take it, because whatever comment you make could be seen by potentially thousands of people. Now more than ever, where somebody makes a comment and they get put on blast for it.
You don't see the other person's reactions, so you just keep on going. You don't know if the person is sad. You don't know if they're angry. You don't know what they're thinking about you.
Social media can turn into sort of a negative space when there's a lot of like anonymous posting. No one else knows who that person is, so it creates a lot of like tension and drama within friend groups.
In the comment sections of posts that, are viral or popular, I'll see someone voicing an opinion and all of a sudden there'll be a thread of even hundreds of comments, people just arguing and not even knowing each other. You could get insulted very easily, like on your appearance, on your like just anything that you say, anything that you put out onto the internet.
Something so small can escalate to something so big, and as it escalates, the topic can completely change to something that's really big.
People that I know actually worry about how many followers they have compared to other people, if they're not getting as many messages. When I see like the people around me getting into drama on social media, kind of makes me not want to be on social media. And it just seems easier to not be a part of that.
I have a couple of friends who are very close, but they fight a lot. I'll get screenshots of their conversation from both of the people just being upset and saying long paragraphs about how upset they are. And instead of talking to each other about it in person, so I've suggested both of them multiple times.
I would say I'm more comfortable talking face to face, because like on social media, it's hard to like communicate like a sense of realness and like emotions.
The best way to deal with digital drama is to leave what's happening. Maybe it's a group chat that you're in, just to leave that, because the more that people talk about it, the more that people are going to think about it, and the more you might get into it and you might say more things.
It is really easy to get your feelings hurt, but you just gotta it's just they're just hiding behind a screen basically. I think the best way to deal with digital drama and help mediate it is, first of all, I always suggest talking in person, because that's always easier.
Avoiding confrontation is something that I'm trying to be aware that I don't do. A way that I can just disassociate myself from the negativity is to just not respond.
So, I kind of remember them talking like, and maybe it's been a while since I watched the video, so I apologize. But typically in the videos, they do also do like positive things too. This one was kind of like a little random. But one thing I do want to kind of like counter a little bit of this idea of connection is hugely important. So, and the reason I'm saying that is I don't want this to be kind of like, well, the best thing we could do with all this technology is just throw it in the trash, because we can't do that. Like, we can't just get rid of it. And I think it's really important for us to recognize it. And I love earlier Harvard talking about this question of like, we want our kids to be connected. How do we do that with digital technologies? Without it, it's the right time to do that. So there is a lot of positive. Facebook's a really good example in our family. Like Facebook, Facebook, a little bit crazy out there in Facebook land. My wife really cherishes Facebook because she's able to connect with like people she hasn't seen for years and keep in touch. She loves it for that. I kind of get a kick out of it too because she has this one uncle has like a lot of like kind of crazy posts. And like when I'm kind of like thinking like I was the other side thinking I'm like, oh, okay, there goes uncle, so and so again. Anyway, I get it like funny. But so what I'd like to do right now is just kind of go over 4 tips. Okay. And I kind of want you to be thinking to yourself, how do these fit in for you, for your family? And these are like in your handout. So, and we already talked about this one. Did this one, I think was tip number 1. You took, right? You did. So it's good. These are de-escalate. How kids take a break in their breath or responding to trauma. And I think is really powerful about this, or one thing to consider with this is, I don't know if you've ever done this with your kids or with other people, you just kind of say, hey, don't worry about it, just ignore it. Like the more you tell someone to ignore something, what happens? The more they think about it. Or how about this? We're going to try it with you right now. Just go ahead and relax. Is it helping? No, in some ways it gets people up. It is maybe nice or polite that I said that, but like oftentimes by just telling someone to do something doesn't work. So we have to have strategies to get them there in some way without even like maybe telling them that we're bringing them there. So by diffusing and de-escalating, helping them to take a break really, really helps. You know about brain stuff, right? Like the amygdala. What's the amygdala up to? Fight or flight. Okay. That's the reptilian brain, I believe they call it. And that's the one that like we don't really do our best creative thinking amygdala mode. We really want to get to the frontal cortex where we can do like executive functioning. The tricky part for a lot of teens is what's going on with executive functioning right now. It's under construction. Okay. There's like lots of cones around the place. It's a little bit chaotic. There's traffic jams. Okay. And so like they need that extra coaching in that stage of life. Because developmentally, that a lot of that executive functioning is kind of getting reworked. It's not just hormones. Everyone's got they're crazy hormones. But they're really like they're developmentally their brain's going too long. So that's like one. Tip 2. Try the do their face test. Have kids imagine they're talking to someone in person, not just from behind the screen. So I like doing this with the students. How much of language comes so like obviously I'm talking with like my voice right now. And besides words, just words, how much of language comes from other how much of our language is coming from other sources besides just words, like body language and stuff like that? How much? Yeah, it's like more than half. Like the majority of the message is coming from like tone, body language, a lot of stuff. Like an example I can do with my students sometimes, if I say, like sit down, like well, sit down. Versus sit down, like really big difference. And I don't know if you've noticed this, but like a lot of times, like reading emails, and I've found this, like I get emails, and I don't know why, but I read them with like angry tone. They're not written with angry tone. I should do them with like a beautiful, like when I read Tom's emails to me, I should read them with like a happy like Disney princess voice. Okay. But like it's really hard to get that context. And sometimes like we're in a hurry, we're kind of writing short things. And we don't mean to be, but like we kind of disconnect. We need a lot of that body language to really get that together. And the interesting thing is, so you know this, is kids actually know this. Like if you ask them, they'll be like, oh yeah, well, it comes body language. Then you're kind of like, once you talk to the person, they're like, no, and they hide from it. So they know it. They just need us though to kind of coach them through that. Again, that's that process of kind of walking beside them and saying, you do know this, but I'm gonna kind of help you have the courage to do that and figure out like what to actually how to actually do. Just so you know too, there's like a fancy term with this called disinhibition. This is kind of like a biggie as far as online problems. Disinhibition means like as soon as you go from like anonymous and without face to face, you can like lose a lot of like those social constructs that say that's a bad idea to do. we kind of just get looked at. All right, tip number 3. So again, here encourage in-person conversation, even though it's hard, resolve drama more effectively than online messages. So like I was saying before, a lot of kids resist this, like my kids do. They drive me crazy. I don't know what to do sometimes. But they know it, and I found that it's just helpful to kind of like really, again, just kind of coach them through it and kind of like set that bar for them that it's going to be better. And step number 4, help them take control. There's actually a lot of like settings on phones, just on the phone, but even without getting like special software, that allows you and your child to kind of bring things down a little bit. One thing I kind of want to point out so far is like, how much have we talked about that software to solve these problems? Have you noticed this so far? Not at all, to like just now. A lot of this is, again, this is kind of good old fashioned parenting. And something that I thought was really powerful in the last time we did this is at the end of it, I'm like, okay, hey, takeaways, we're kind of like getting things to everyone. And one dad was like, I thought it was just really humble and powerful. He said, you know what, honestly, I just want to spend more time with my daughter. And a lot of this is just good old fashioned, just that you're just there. And when you're there, you notice things. For us as teachers, we call that monitoring and adjusting. It's like when you're there, you're kind of like, oh, that's going up, and you adjust. But if we're not there, we can't do that. So there are settings in there. We can talk about these a little bit specifically in a moment. You guys are going to have time with each other. Maybe you can kind of swap ideas. Mr. Devitt over here, he knows lots of stuff about technology. He can give you some ideas if you have like questions on that. I don't know. Do you have any like kind of quick?
I think it dawned on me that, one of the biggest things you can do is just have some time where you work with your child and say, listen, let's just turn off the notifications. Have it on total silent and you only check it whenever and just see how your day is. It was neat because my kids just went through the military and basic training. They take their phones away. So it was the first time without having phones for like 2 months, 3 months. And then I got a different kid back. Well, it might not be just with the phones, but so yeah, just I've done that. Being a digital, for my my employment for my whole career is just going through COVID 24/7, the exhaustion that you would have for always having to be available. And Dave done calling me at all hours. And but there's really a benefit in turning it down and putting it away for yourself. And it, like you were talking about earlier with modeling things. So modeling the behavior, not always, oh, it's, another ad, another Facebook post just pop up. How important is that day to day? It's really not that important. So perhaps creating some space and time with the kids by just simply having, say, you can have your phone. Well, when we're at the dinner table or anything, I want all notifications off. Maybe that's a way to start.
In my house, and every house is different. We have our kids like as soon as they come home, they put their phones on the table, kind of by the door. So the rest of the time they're in the house, we're just together. My little kids, like my little Hayden, the cute guy who's working at Hammer, he actually gets pretty bothered by it, like when like they're on their phones too much. They're like, because he wants to be with them and he can't be. But I would encourage you at some point when your kids like really go through the settings, like the privacy settings, stuff like that. What kind of information is being shared, your notifications, like really kind of like just tapping on the things and seeing what's in there. There's a lot of stuff in there that you can do. It's kind of different. It's hard for you to kind of say, ta-da, because like every device is a little bit different. But there's a lot of stuff in there if you especially go to privacy settings. Even if you list like Google, like for your device, say for Apple or whatever, you could like do privacy settings and give some kids. You guys have anything to add? Tips there? So really, guys, too, this is going to be kind of quiet time. All right, on your own right now. You have this handout here. There's 4 questions. I kind of want you to just kind of like take some time to kind of take this in for yourself. Go ahead and answer those questions. If you need something to present with, let me know. I'll work it up. We need to be a participant. For you, there is.
So we started out.
So I don't know.
Hey, right now, go ahead and share your answers with your partner, buddy. You might wonder if things drop.
All right.
On start. I'll start.
All right, so the one that I recommend is just the hard to read over text and just. So
Yes, she has.
So I think the strategy is face to face, that's just like.
Other texting.
Say things. Oh, yeah. Well, after that, it's like my life. That's it.
I go back and that's what I've been doing, and it seems to be.
Also,
Yeah.
if she wants to, I don't
Yeah.
care. If she wants to get out of the very just told that I'm taking a phone. I'm not taking a phone. So to get off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then like times you have sat times out.
Like, Most of us tell them, I said, that way you don't have to tell them why you. I've dealt,
Yes.
I've seen my daughter deal with it.
But it's-
Neighbor, then they'll say things that they won't say face online, that they won't say face to face. They're a little bit more aggressive. In the texting. Right, that's what. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Well, the media doesn't help either with the tone about how everybody's so mean to everybody on the news sites, regardless of which one you look at. They're all the tone and how we aggressively treat any politician, you know, whether it's Biden or Trump, they're all just venomous. Yeah, it's a very toxic world that is being created, our news organizations, and that really is, it's tough. It's not healthy, but that's what brings viewers. So it's a commerce thing. Yeah, Oscars, yeah. Yeah.
I was wondering about that, if that, and I didn't talk to my daughter about it, but that was.
Yeah.
I know. So my son was, I heard about it, and so at the dinner table, he said, who's Chris Rock? And he said, I know who Will Smith is. But it was only. I said, what happened? I broke it down for him, exactly, you know, like the scene. And we just gotta give him all the facts, and we can give him our opinions on it. Just give him. So I'm sorry. Like, what is this? But it was more of a, yeah, family discussion. How do you feel? How would you feel? But yeah, he had heard about it at school. Now it's like, he's one of those things that he'll laugh at a joke, he'll have no idea what. So that's kind of like, it's not hard. It's not as, people almost got space. Yeah. We just talk about it. I mean, I know they watch CNN on Wednesday. And those are bad if you agree or disagree. We're libertarians. So like, I'm an independent. I want to know the facts. I'll decide based on how comfortable I am. And so we have this family. What was on CNN time? Who live in Chicago? And like, no, I don't want to watch it. Tell us what's on. Oh, I don't remember what was that.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of thing. Having discussions and then we can insert our value or our answer. So they'll say, oh, was that biased in there? Yeah. You know, say, well, I don't think so, but what do you think? Like, we can't really think about it.
Oh, no. Go over to each other's house.
Yeah. What was that?
Okay.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah, like. Where that's like. Don't work on what you may not. What was the movie? That came out when our kids were younger.
He says it's like.
There's one thing in the beginning where the mother who's dying tells the daughter, always be kind, always be kind. It's a good thing to stick in.
Oh, absolutely.
That's fine. You're kind.
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah. If you don't mind, you were talking about an older friend being manipulative. And I'm not really having the drama on a larger scale, but on a small
So
scale.
like.
And it is happening on Google Chat. I have a son who has two best friends that we call them the Three Musketeers that were in kindergarten together and now they're in sixth grade. Two are in JP and my guy's in my they're still together all the time now. Yeah, because that's the kind of big likes and big deal on it. The other two didn't go to school last year in person, so they were. This was their summer work with
Oh, yeah.
my son, but they're not. One of those two. Was very coach on their own. Knows it. And my son and the other kid are more like, okay, you know, it's fine, it's fine.
Yeah.
And we did that conversation. Coming up. Even to the point where this manipulative kid was very sweet, but all day long. That's not allowed. That's for me. Still missing.
No, you go
And
from.
boys go to meetings. Like, you hate me.
Yes, well, that's what I said, like that.
I must have done something wrong. Like, oh, mom, it's like going to the house to go.
Where,
Yeah.
and the way.
I'm trying, because
That's what I roll. Things
Oh, okay, I'm not here, you know, and he doesn't want to deal with it, and I'll say, well, why don't you see for it? You know, I don't want to forget, I want to go outside. Sunday, like, oh, I got. Well, I'm gonna, this is like a litmus test. He's gonna like, oh.
Oh, like you didn't even know. Yeah.
That was her daughter, yes.
They must have said so much. It's kind of good thing that came out of this social distancing is that she's socially stuck.
My son is.
Because of the conversations I'm having with her now, the way that has a club shot. I thought I would be having soon, but I, it hasn't happened. Because they
Yeah, no, I think it's all about it.
A boy said, why? Big makeup and makeup, like 8 times.
Third grade's gonna be big.
Yeah. Probably, but again, so the moms. The thing that, that used to happen. Maybe in 63 with them.
Oh, cool.
Oh, okay.
Tough thing to.
Grades differently because they're all in a different developmental cycle.
Right.
So third graders through COVID versus second, first,
Yep.
second, I mean,
Yeah.
every kid's was on a
It's
different.
just college, they're saying in college, kids don't have the social skills. It's.
Anyways, because of this.
Never got.
Stuff yourself in here and not have personal intimacy or physical contact or communication and.
Because there are.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
We have a policy in our 3-person family, that's, no phones. And so I leave it on the kitchen island and we're eating. But my husband is in IT and he's 27. His client could be texting him at any point in the day. So he's like,
I do. I mean, I'm still always on it within the hour, but it's not like every second throughout 24/7.
All night, all night.
Well,
Respond to an email. Is it supposed to be a minute, 2 minutes, or is the next day? It's like a lot of things can wait.
Adult one.
Yeah.
there's no
Let's
boundary.
go ahead
There's no
and
boundaries.
wrap this up here. Final closing pieces here. I'm gonna skip to number 2 on here. What strategies or strategies do you think would be most helpful with your kid? What do you got going on with there? Okay. Yeah, I think I'll work by some of the names circled all, which is fine.
I think for the things that I just gotten into with the texting, the to-their-face test, just to think about things before you send it. Because it is like they get into this like heated thing that they have to go back and forth with, and it's just a second. So I like that strategy a lot.
So it's always so powerful. Person-to-person communication. What else for strategies? What's kind of resonating with you? I'm gonna call you. Sorry.
Karen,
What do you got?
my daughter, she's in 6th grade and this is just starting the drama. I tell her to take a break, to remove herself, and to breathe. And it so far it's worked.
That's huge.
Hopefully it'll stay on that path. She's still young. She's only 11. So she's, I know what's coming, but at least for now, that's where we're at. And it works. And she goes back to the text later or maybe the next day, but I always say remove yourself from the situation, do something else.
And has she learned to do it on her own? Or is it mostly like coaching? Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that's huge.
Yeah.
Good go.
It's funny because my other daughter probably wouldn't so much, but my older daughter, she's not, she has empathy, but she's not as empathetic as me or her sister. So she doesn't think too deep into it. She just kind of like, nope, that's it. I'm done with you. Like she's able to just kind of
What else for another strategy? What do you got?
Setting a free woman.
Yeah.
The sooner do that, thinking weird, rather than having them not have momentum and trying.
Yeah. Would you mind like you were showing stuff?
Yeah, so I was on TikTok. With Dad.
Do you like would you like do you want to like show to everyone? Because I could pick up.
Yeah, can you?
Like, would
share
that be
my
helpful to
screen?
you? Like, she's gonna show like settings. Would that be helpful to you?
Yeah.
Can you?
It's amazing. If you want to see.
And else for one? I'm gonna grab it without camera.
Yes, you can.
Is there stuff in there? Is there duck cam in there?
With your phone.
No, this one's locked.
Next
Yeah.
door. I'll be right back.
Save a little bit. We used to have things at home, of you have to get off your phone at a certain time, but there's times when I forget, like unless I set a timer for me to remember, then I'm gonna forget to remind them, right? So
Yeah.
it actually takes that off my plate and it actually will like turn their phone off, and the only way you can get back on it is if they ask for me to put the code in, so it will just shut their phone down.
Oh, just, except they can make, well, they can emergency calls, things like that. It depends on what you set the settings for. There's, you know, you can go pretty deep diving in to what you limit. But it just, I don't know. I work at Spencer Court and I'm trying to work smarter, not harder. My hours have increased. I'm out of the house a lot more, so having to then come home to a full-time job of managing, technology after I've been doing it all day. I just try to find ways to sort of farm that out, right? If you have something else that can do it for.
And another thing too, TikTok is like the big devil, or so it's getting better, but so you can set time limits on TikTok, but creative kids will add more accounts, so then they get more and more time on TikTok. So this is giving us a way to also just limit that as well, in addition, not through TikTok, but through family sharing.
So that's one thing you have to be set up to, well, I get iPhone, but I'm sure you can do it through Google, some platforms, but you have to have family sharing with your kids. Hope I don't get any embarrassing taxi.
There's that.
I gave my kid my phone to document them doing an exercise the other day, and he goes, "Oh, Mrs. Greco, you have TikTok?" I'm like, "Stop! Give me the phone." Lock it so you can just do it. So if you guys just pick a guide you there, want to go to settings. I know. I just put more limits on Lucy's, and she just got home from soccer, and I know I'm gonna get a text. Mom, I should have got something else.
I was about to say, like Dave and I can get ourselves in a lot of trouble with the kids at school if we email it to home to all the families about this.
Yeah, I shouldn't say your name.
I'll do it on a Friday afternoon.
Report it. Anyway, my son. Steve Smith. Okay, so it should go into screen time. Gosh, I my kids' names here. And then you go down to the bottom. See how it says their names? You'll click on the name for your family. And then you can pick downtime. And if you haven't set it up already, you'll have it in your passcode that's different than your lock screen. And then you can go in day by day and change, when they can access their phone and when they cannot. And the nice thing is, like when we're on break, she'll just say to me, "My phone's locking at 9 o'clock, but I have school tomorrow. Can I do it?" And they.
9:30.
Yeah. I think they can call.
9:30.
Yeah. But then we were also talking about how you can go to app limits. Add a limit. So then you can go to social and you can pull up any of the social media, and then you can go. It just picks up whatever app she can't. Or no, she does. But you know what I mean? Like it'll just list whatever ones are an option. And then you can set how many hours that they're able to spend on that specific app. So that's the same, like I have in the past, like amounts for myself. And then it pops up and it's like, you need to stop, but I know my own password. And then I just keep going. Because I just, it's genuine.
Really?
But basically, that one, they wouldn't know the password, so they really can. Yeah, they would have to. Well, I finally turned it off. I was like, why am I doing this to myself?
So does that give you access to see what they've done on
No.
that? So you can't
No.
see?
You would have to go on their phone, because I've down as I've allowed her to choose different, or, we've discussed different social media platforms. I also download the platform myself because I want to know how to navigate it, so then I can navigate it on her phone. So I try to do spot checks on her phone. I have the password to her phone. So that's really the only way I found that I can then access any of the content that we're friends on those apps, right? So I can see what she posts out publicly. Now, she's a private account, but you know what I mean? To her friends. I can see what her friends can see, but I don't have access to her private messages unless I go onto her phone.
Google Link, we have that, and that shows and how much time on every single app that is.
Yeah, actually, the iPhone does. Can show you. If
history?
you go,
Oh,
yeah, if you go into.
No, we're not doing that again.
I know.
Just so you know,
Oh, she's gonna say no, the password.
we're gonna cut that part out of the video.
Okay.
We can't have the names.
That's like, you're gonna like,
No, once the names come up, we can't.
I want to see if I can do it. So. Can you see it? Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so right now I'm in hers, so it's under family sharing. And if you click into see all activity, it will then show how much activity she has spent, which is kind of weird too. Show you.
Those numbers you can't see.
Okay, all right, yeah. So it shows me how many hours and minutes she spent on TikTok. Okay.
So, you want to show and tell too?
No, I just have a question. I'm still on the downtime. When you go, okay, so you go into settings, screen time, and then you click on family and the child that you want to monitor, and then turn on screen time. I don't know.
Do you mean I think the terminology is downtime.
Yeah, so I would like her phone off at like 10.
Yeah, so that's the downtime setting. So you're gonna go into screen time.
Yep.
Then down to your child's name.
Okay.
And then into downtime.
But then it says turn on screen time when I click on her name.
So this will show you after. We can show you after. Yeah, or maybe yeah.
And what you're doing now too is really cool, because like now you're starting to kind of like really dig into a lot of the settings. You're kind of, oh, I didn't know that was there. Another place to do that. So that's just within the phone, like the operating system for phone. There's all the apps too. All the apps have like their own privacy settings, like what stuff is public. Like one that came up with our last one was like a Snapchat. Snapchat like makes it so you can like easily see where all your friends are right now. And some kids are kind of like, oh, yeah, no, I turned that one off. So like it's just kind of something to think about, like how much information is being shared with these apps. As Tom likes to remind us, he's like, oh, these things are free. All you do is you just give your soul to these apps. So realize that like, even though they're free, that information is being used in a lot of different ways, and for the company, but also to like, now what happens as a kid is kind of like, well, all my friends are over at such and such a place, or all their friends know where your kid is all the time. Do you want them to be able to do? So take some time to really go through all the privacy settings for, the individual apps too.
What party was happening, and there's a whole other social dynamic with the location awareness pieces, and if they're being ostracized from a click, and then they can see all three of them over there, they purposely might turn it on, turn it off, and then play games, and it's tough.
So we're just about to close up. Do you have any other kind of like last questions or final thoughts? You can think yourself. Yes.
Is there a Facebook page for the Fairport parents to exchange ideas?
I sponsor one, as a district. I don't know, like, someone could create. Yeah, but that would.
Good idea, maybe a group, ongoing online group or something, maybe this type of medium is thinking about some ideas on how would we create some sort of either parent squarish group or some sort of thing or
Okay, I'm gonna think about it.
yeah, we'll think of some ideas.
Because
Because ongoing dialogue is very important.
Yeah.
well, yeah, and it's interesting too, because, there's a lot of, for saying that there's a lot of positiveness to this type of social media, then we should. Right, it's on my list.
Thank you.
The principals are gonna set that up and manage it.
Thanks, Dave.
Maybe I'll-
Add that to your list.
Dave, that's gonna be our social media.
Can I ask a quick question?
Oh, yeah.
How different is this meeting? This is 6 to 8. How different is this digital drama class versus what we do for the high school? Is it pretty similar?
It was pretty similar. We had two different elements in the sense of how we presented it, but the content was the same.
I just want to prepare, so.
Yeah, it was pretty much the same, and we did it for some other considerations. We weren't really sure the numbers. We didn't want like a giant group, and we kind of like the smaller setting. So a lot of it was just the environment, like how we were gonna present it was a little different, but it was really the same concept.
Like bringing the kids in was skewed.
Yeah, so we had kids in the camp. They were awesome. They were so so true. They were real. At times I was kind of like, okay, all right. Real. And then anything coming up?
No, thanks for being here. And again, try to find a way to get that message out to your friends, even if they just watch the video. Because I think the more parents that we have that have this information, the better off I think our kids are going to be, especially for 3 years of middle school.
Yeah, I love these little tools and tricks and stuff like that. I think they're great to share and go, hopefully it makes less battles for you guys, at home and setting those guidelines and going from there. And, it's good. Communication is always with it.
We're working on rolling out a curriculum through all the grades, which tech coaches have been really instrumental in digging through the common sense media. K-5, there's lessons by health teachers, library media specialists, everything from internet safety to, how is this a true article or is this, there's just a lot of things that we're rolling out. New York State has standards that are rolling out that all schools are going to have to start to teach creation tools and skills and whatnot. So all the schools are in the bucket. More information will come out, and along with those lessons, there also are every single one of those lessons has parent guides that go with them. So you can go on Common Sense Media and look at all of the by grade, all the lessons. There's a lot of them that we're going to be going through and teaching, and you can literally teach them yourself right away. They're awesome. You can see how well written these are already.
So huge thank you to all of you. Really want to tell you, you're doing great. Okay, it's hard being a parent, and I really admire you because I could tell you're trying to ask questions that there aren't always that simple, straightforward answers to, and that it takes a lot of guts to kind of confront those kind of not perfectly nice, tidy answers. So thank you so much for what you do, and let us know if there's anything. Take care.
Thank you. Good luck. Shaylin Sullivan. 6th grade, right? Martha. Yeah.